Hey, today I'm going to teach you how to mix Amapiano beats and also Afrobeats. What's up guys? If you're new to this channel, do want to hit the subscribe button and also please leave a like on this video if you're going to enjoy this content. Let's move into FL Studio where I'll show you my process of mixing an Amapiano beat or an Afrobeat. Let's go. Step 1 will be to organize your files and arrange them in your mixer. If you're at FL Studio, but all that does I think is automatically arranged in your mixer already. So for FL Studio users, please organize your files, name them properly so that you give the engineer less stress while he's trying to handle the mix for the whole song in general. So I've done that. I've labeled my files correctly. I've sent them to the mixer. So you'll notice some plugins. Let me point out that this plugins were used in the beat making process, okay, to just it was a creative decision, not a mixing decision. So not a mixing decision. So on my master channel, I have my wave candle loaded up just for metering. If you have any other metering plugin, you could use it. I just use this so that I could watch my levels while I mix. I have a preset I created for that. I'll do to leave it in the description below. So I just come to my mixer, right click on the mixer, go to file and click this, and it brings up the plugin for me. So first things first, I start my mix for my drums and I start from the kick. So for my kick here, I have compressed it because I felt it needed the compression, but trust me, you can do it with compression once your sounds are perfect. Now I need to point out that the first step, even before organizing and arranging your stems or your sounds in the mixer, is to make sure your sounds are as clean as possible. Now you can get clean sounds from my website, Micah's website, Jeff Josh's website, Ransom's website, Hit Sound's website, SC Tutorial. There are a bunch of us that have amazing clean Afrobeat samples. So do all to make sure you're getting your samples from the right source. So first off, we solo the kick. We start from the kick. I'll keep building around the kick till everything sits right, because majorly in Afrobeat, the kick is more like the driving sound. When you hit the kick, you know it's time to dance. So I click play while selecting the most busiest part of my mix, which is the chorus. You select a beat. So step 3 will be to select the busiest part of your mix, which is the chorus. I think it's always the chorus. So you select the chorus, then I head back to the mixer. I solo the kick. Now I begin to listen the kick, then just bring it down, watching my levels. My ear plays a more important role than my eyes. Actually, I never use the meters. I always use my ears. The meter is just to make sure that I'm not clipping or I'm not nearly clipping. So I just use my ears to set my kick. Now when I drop this kick down, I noticed I had not gone far and it was already sounding weak. That was hence the need for the compressor, light compressor. So what's going on my compressor is I'm just my threshold is at -13. I'm using ratio 2:6. Then I think the major source of this compressor is the attack. I didn't crush it so that it doesn't become, the kick doesn't become too clicky. So I took my attack all the way to around 35 milliseconds or 40 milliseconds. Then also the release, I brought it up also. I did not want this fast compressor to be happening to this kick, because the kick has this roundness to it and has this softness to it, so that's why it's there. Then I'll just brought the gain up a bit. So we have the kick. Next up is the snare. Always use your ears. I know the kick is the most important thing right now, so I'm building around the kick. The kick must always be heard. And for this percussion, we have a bandpass EQ. Next up, transient master, just to tighten the sound for me. And also a pro EQ to cut out more low. Like I said, these were creative decisions which was taken earlier in the beat making process. So yeah, it has nothing to do with the mix per se. Yeah, and I must also point out that I'm no professional in mixing and mastering. This is just knowledge I've gathered over the years while learning how to make beats and mix and master, if I should add. So yeah. Feel free to do things on your own, but these are the things I do to make my beats sound the way they sound when you listen to them. I'm always listening, constantly listening. Next we have the whistle. On the whistle, we have a pro EQ to cut out lows, creative decision, but still going to help the mixing also. We have the reverb. I didn't even touch it. I just dropped the volume knob of the reverb. Then also stereo enhancer, just to enhance the stereo image of the whistle. Next up, we have our ring. Sometimes you don't listen to the sound alone to make sure that it's clean. Perfect. It's all good. So if you have unclean sounds, the right thing to do will be to go from each sound to each sound, make sure that it's clean. You've taken away unwanted frequencies and you've left the right frequencies in the mix. Yes, just where it should be. Next up, we got about 3 hi-hats, so I'm going to be panning 2 of the hi-hats. I'll pan one to the left, the other one to the right. So I have a reverb on this last hi-hat that sounds like a whistle, just to give it space in the mix. Next up, we've got the bongo. So for this particular sound, I want it more felt than heard. So if you're trying to listen to the sound, you hardly hear it, but definitely when it's playing, when I take it off and bring it back in, you can feel its presence in the mix. Just like that. Next I've got the clave. So this is already panned, but I don't think I want it panned. Go ahead and look for it. Okay, so originally the sound has been panned, so I need to balance that. I'll go ahead and use the fruity balance to balance it. Just so it's nice and centered. That's okay. Next up, we got shakers. We have 2 shakers in this mix, in this beat, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So I think sometimes they play together, sometimes they don't play together. And now for the shakers, I know one is low, one is on like the higher frequency range side. So I'm nothing serious, just going to balance the levels. Perfect. All right. Next up, the instruments. So I think we've talked about leveling, we've talked about panning, we've talked about reverb in some of the instruments, some of the sounds we had, how I use the reverb. So after setting your drums right, now because this is Amapiano beats, for me personally, I do not like to boss my drums because I am not going for this sharp attack on my drums. So if I was to mix an Afrobeat, I would have created a drum boss at this moment. Okay, then I would like to always see this drum boss, so I'll dock it to my left. I know it's here on the left. Now I'll go ahead and select my drums, everything drum related. I also add the drum rolls, then I'll go ahead and bust them. Now down this array, I'll right click and I'll click route to this track. Now do not click route to this track only because I want to perform a parallel compression on these drums alone. So I'm going to click route to this track. Now this has successfully routed all my drums to the drum bus alongside sending them to the master. If you can see here, I have a cable moving out from the whistle going into the master channel and also the drum bus. So if I was to mix an Afrobeat, like again I said, I'll have this. Now this makes it louder. What I'll do is I drop it and I'll load up like I generally load up something like either it's Tech or I'm going to load up this solid EQ or solid bus compression. But if you were just using stock plugins, I think I'll go with Fruity Blood Overdrive. Why do I need this plugin? Because I need a little bit of distortion in my drums. Now, like I said, I would do this if I were to be mixing Afrobeats. Okay. I want to hear it a bit cranky. So I think any other kind of clean distortion plugin would be great. Now, when I have this kind of little distortion, it's time to blend in this drum bus with the original drums. That's why it's called parallel processing or parallel compression. Now, if you notice the energy this parallel processing adds to the drums, that's why I like to use it for Afrobeats, because I know for Amapiano, it's more of a calm energy in Amapiano, so I do not do this for Amapiano beat. You can feel that presence, that energy brings into the mix. Okay, like I said, we're not doing this, so I'm going to go ahead and just reset this to default. Next up, we have the instruments. So I would like to start with the log bass. Use your ears, always listen. Now you will notice I've not talked about any numbers so far, but I'm always watching my meter. I want to be at around -8 to around -3. I do not want to be crossing over -3 for the mix alone because I'm still going ahead to do I don't like to call it mastering. I keep saying this. I'm not professional in mixing and mastering, but the final process I'm going to show you for this mixing slash mastering process, I'm going to be boosting the volume of the entire track. So I need to leave enough headroom for that boost to happen. So that's why I leave at about from -6 to 0, or at most I'm hitting -4, -3. So while I'm going ahead to add in more instruments, I'm also watching the levels to be aware of where my master is hitting at the moment. Ooh, that's solid and nice. Yeah. Let's move on to the tremolo. Just go ahead to make creative decisions, but this also aids the mix. Padding aids the mix to create space in the center of the track for when the vocals will come in, so you don't have so much things going on in one spot. You try to put things in different pockets and places while mixing. So that's what padding helps you to do. So I'll move on to the little effects we have in this beat. For this beat, I'm trying to, like, every time I make a beat right now, I try to always keep it simple, so I don't have too much sounds going on in this beat. Let me go ahead to do the drum fills and sound effects. We have this coming. For my sound effects, I do not want them to overwhelm any other sound. They act as just sound effects. So I'm careful to make sure that they are present in the mix, but they are not unnecessarily loud. I've heard people mix the beat, and once the effect is coming in, it's like nothing else is happening in the beat, just the effects are just happening in the whole beat. And no, that's not the way to do it. You have to make sure it's balanced enough that it's not overwhelming other sounds. It is not a major sound, it is just a sound or a transitioning effect from one part or section of your song to another part or section of your song. So for these drum rolls tools, I want to make the drum tighter, hence me loading Transient Master. You could use Transient Processor in FL Studio or any other form of Transient plugin. The Smack Attack tool do a great job. So now that we are done leveling and balancing our sounds and the whole mix, it's time to do what I call pre-master, which is basically just bringing up the entire volume to a level whereby it is very audible. It is loud enough, but it's not clipping, it's not distorting, it's just loud enough and it's solid. So I have 3 different processes for this. I'll go ahead and show you. But the first thing first on your master right now is to load up an equalizer. Now, what we're going to do here is paramount to the process, to the coming up process for the pre-master stage, like I call it. Now, I'm going to listen to the low end to make sure that there is no excessive low end here. As we all know, the human ear can only pick up sounds ranging from 20 hertz up onto 20 kilohertz. Anything below 20 hertz or above 20 kilohertz, we can't just hear it. All right, so now, hence having that information, there is no need having sounds from around 20 hertz downward, but still we are all human beings. Most of us can't even hear below 30 hertz, to be honest with you. Not most of us, some of us can't even hear that. So now I'm going to be sweeping all the way from below here up until where the low end is just kicking in, so that anything beyond that frequency goes away. Now, when I'm bringing up all my levels, I know I'm not bringing up the excessive lows. I'm not bringing up the unwanted frequencies. I'm just bringing up what needs to be brought up in the mix in general. So let's go ahead and press play. We'll go ahead and select the chorus section again. Then let's press play. So now if I sweep in, now sweep just to when I can't hear this low end anymore. Can't still feel it yet. And this is where the subwoofers in the club we hit really hard. This is around 50 up until like 36 or something. Then it begins to dies off and fade off. I can still feel it. Now somewhere about here is very, very safe to lock up my sound around 28. Trust me, no one is going to hear anything below here, so that's fair. So for my high hand, I'll come up here again, press play. Just till when I can't hear it anymore. Perfect. You might not be able to tell much difference if I turned off this plugin and turn it on, but why not? Let's experiment. Why not? I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I can hear something. And funny enough, I can actually hear a difference, but it's not that pronounced. Many of you won't be able to. For real, many of you won't be able to tell the difference. You'll be watching the video and be like, what's he hearing? But I can hear a difference. It's not a wild, like, the difference is not that wild in range, but there is definitely a difference. Some of you can tell, some of you won't be able to tell. Don't feel bad that you can't tell. As time goes on, you begin to train your ears and you begin to hear certain frequencies. Now for this final and crucial part, I have 3 different plugins I can use for this, but for the most, I tend to use one of them of lately, which is Ozone 9. I use the Master Assistant all the time to just do it for me. But if you don't have Ozone 9 but you have Ozone 5, here's how you can do it with Ozone 5. So the first things first, make sure your loudest part in the mix is still selected, which is the chorus. Then you go ahead, load up your Ozone 5. The first things first is to come to the stereo imaging section, hit play, activate the stereo. You can just adjust the delay a bit. Then you start with the bandwidth one. That is band 1 width. I'll just select it, see where I'm just hearing majority of the low frequencies. Alright, then I'll turn it down. And I want my bass, all my sub bass to be in the mono, just hitting in the middle, as you can see in this vectorscope right here. Next up, select my low mid. I'll bring it up a bit, let it just be a little bit spread. Ooh, you can hear that, right? You can hear that. This, not all, so bring it up. Yeah, give it some space. Okay, move over to the high mids. Ooh. I just want this to just be all over the place. Then for my high, let's do bypassed. This adds more life to the beats. What we just did was just spread the stereo image of the track, understand? Just give it a sense of space. So next up is I'm going to use the maximizer. First things first is to bring the character down to fast and loud. Then my margin, I like to set my margin for -1. I do not like to hit 0 all the time. It is not the final master. I just want my bit loud enough. -1 is fine. The -0.6, 0.5 is fine also. Then now I begin to bring down my threshold to when everything is just hitting nice, smooth, and very audible. Let's go. Now I'm getting a stubborn frequency. Let me load up an EQ just to see. Just want to visualize what frequency that is. So that frequency is somewhere around here. I could go back to my ozone, load up the equalizer, and do slight EQ. Now we're just hitting under 0, which is perfect for us. Just perfect for us. Now, why no longer I use Ozone 5 is that it makes it loud. It makes it loud, but it doesn't make it as loud as I would want it to be. But it's a good way to save CPU for me, and it does the job quite alright for me also. So the next plugin I would show you would be I Am Pusher by Waves. Shout out to Micah for putting me onto this plugin. I actually have my own preset I just load. So we already have our EQ, cut out the excessive low end. So I basically just want to push the sound, okay? Just want to push it. I'm watching my meter. Which I'm in limit mode. Make sure to select the mode to limit. And I can go ahead and just break up the highs a bit. Also stereo image. Then magic. Before and after. So this is the way I usually used to use before, but I've stopped using for a while. I didn't find it to be that effective for me, but if you can find your way around this plugin, if you have this plugin and you can find your way around this plugin, it's good to also do this. So last on the list will be the Ozone 9. I just used the Master Assistant, and that's what I'm going to be using for this particular beat. Just wanted to show you guys other options available if you do not have Ozone 9. I'm going to go ahead and load Ozone 9. I shy away from this plugin just because it's simply intensive. That if I have a lot of plugins, a lot of stuff loaded up on my project, I tend to shy away from this plugin, but I love to use it all the time. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play, and I'm going to activate the Master Assistant and let it do its thing. Mind you, when Master Assistant is running, it is good and safe for you to turn down the volume of your headset or speakers. I'll advise you to do that as I'm going to use the Master Assistant to show you this process. Master Assistant has done its job, and trust me, it's quite always nice. So I usually tweak the settings of Master Assistant because it doesn't just get it as I want it to get it. So let's just go ahead and tweak the equalizer. Master Assistant doesn't also load stereo imager. I'm going to go ahead and do that myself. Load it up, bring it behind just before the maximizer. Then go ahead and select this point, then let it just do it for me. Okay, like it there. Activate stereo just like the Ozone 5. Bring it down. So I want to go back to my kick. I'm hearing this annoying sound. And I'll use an equalizer to remove whatsoever it is that's making that annoying sound. Now I'm just going ahead to tame this low section. I'm using Fab Filter Pro Q3 dynamic EQ process, and I'm also cutting down around 122 Hz just because it's going to sound a bit muddy, but that again may just be because I'm just soloing sub bass parts of the equalizer on Ozone 9. But okay, go ahead and unsolo that. Bring this part up. Then next up, I still want to work on this part. Bring that up also. Now we have successfully taken our beats from this to this. That's perfect. Now we just successfully mixed an Amapiano beat in the FL Studio. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on this video. If you're new to this channel, do well to hit the subscribe button. More tutorials are on its way, and also feel free to leave it in the comment section which you didn't really get. I'll do well to explain further in the comment section, and also links in the description for free Afrobeat kits and also premium ones. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys in another video. Bye.